What was it like to be a high schooler in the 80s? In the beginning of the decade, in 1980, Ronald Reagan was elected as President of the United States.
Everybody said Jimmy Carter was terrible and Ronald Reagan was the answer, and he got a landslide victory, and it turned out to be true. He did great things for our country, and our economy prospered under Reagan.
You go from being a movie star to the President of the United States. I can remember my parents joking about it a little bit, kind of downplaying it.
In 1981, there was an assassination attempt on President Reagan broadcasted on live TV.
It was on all the TVs, and it didn't seem like much. I mean, it was like he's waving to the crowd, and you heard, "Oh man," and they just pushed him in the car and took him and rushed him away.
Ronald Reagan was close to death when he arrived at the hospital and then underwent exploratory surgery. He recovered and was released from the hospital on April 11th. On May 18th, 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted in Washington state.
My dad and I were down at our beach cabin for the weekend doing some work, and Sunday morning we woke up at the beach, and there was ash on our cars.
The eruption killed about 60 people and thousands of animals. In 1983 brought the invention of a mobile cell phone. They were all the rave and considered a luxury to own.
The invention of the cell phone was a life changer for us kids. We had to have one, but you couldn't afford it.
These phones were described as huge bricks and were very heavy to carry around.
But she's in when she's out.
Dr. Rose surgery.
In 1986, the space shuttle Challenger was broadcasted to take off on live TV. Joy soon turned into devastation as the space shuttle exploded in front of all of America on live TV.
I was actually at school when that happened, and I can remember it coming over the PA system.
Our hearts just went out for the people that were in that thing, but it was one of those, it was so surreal, it was hard to believe.
All 7 crew members on the ship were killed, and America was left in complete shock from the tragedy. Chernobyl was this town that Russia had built around a huge nuclear plant in order to provide Russia with free power. They built a huge nuclear reactor, and it provided most of Russia with power. The operators on Chernobyl were poorly trained and didn't understand safety protocols. These factors led them to make a horrible mistake in Unit 4.
When it first blew up, the whole world knew about it, and Russia denied it.
Russia tried and tried to keep the media out, but it became impossible to do this because they were evacuating an entire town of over 100,000 people from the middle of nowhere.
And it was like a month of news when it finally came out. Russia said, yeah, we have a serious problem here, and a lot of people died.
The mistake in Unit 4 led to a huge chain reaction of explosions. The explosions in Chernobyl killed around 50 people, but the radiation was the real threat.
And it didn't just impact the people that lived there at the time that reactor blew up. It also impacted the next generations with babies being born with deformities.
The largest uncontrolled release of radiation caused a huge rise in birth defects soon after, not only spreading to children, but in baby animals as well. Now we ask high schoolers, what were some iconic movies of the 80s?
Goonies,
Top Gun.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Star Wars was huge.
Back to the Future.
Flock of Seagulls.
Guns N' Roses,
Men Without Hats.
Metallica,
Michael Jackson was on everybody's mind. He was the king of pop.
Beat It, and Billie Jean. The most iconic photo that I can think of is probably the photo with Michael Jackson with E.T. It just was like the iconic movie and the most iconic pop star. Acid wash jeans with holes in them. Collared shirts were really popular. Big hair. Lots of Aquanet hairspray. Cheers. That was a pretty good show. That was kind of the thing.
I think what most people think was Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan was a great president. He definitely proved himself. He cut federal taxes, he cut government spending. Reagan also nominated the first woman, Sandra Day O'Connor, to the Supreme Court.
The 80s were a great educational decade full of many events, good and bad. Thank you for watching.